Okay, so welcome back to the Maths channel. In this video, we are going to be looking at the 2020 trial for Caringbah. This is Maths Advanced. In this video in particular, we are going to be looking at the multiple choice. So question 1, we've got if cosine of theta is equal to negative 12 over 13, and theta is in between 180 and 360 degrees, then cotangent of theta is equal to what? So here we can see that the angle is negative. So all stations to central. We know cosine is negative and is in between 180 and 360, so it's over here. Just going to draw my line there. I'm just going to write my values here. So cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So here's my angle. Adjacent is 12. Hypotenuse is 13. So therefore my missing side here is going to be 5. Now if I were to write the coordinates for this point here, it will be negative 12, negative 5. Okay, so that's the coordinates of that point. So we want cotangent theta, which is 1 over tan theta. Well, what is tan theta according to this? Tan is sine over cos, negative 5 over negative 12, which just becomes negative 12 over negative 5, or just 12 over 5. So the answer is D. Question 2. What are the asymptotes of the graph of y equals 1 over x squared minus 9? So the asymptotes are the values that x can't be, or where the graph will approach but will never touch. Well, here we can see that the denominator cannot equal to 0. Okay, so x squared can't equal to 9. So x cannot equal to plus minus 3. Because x cannot equal to that, that means x equals to plus minus 3 are the asymptotes. So the answer is A. Question 3. For the function f of x is equal to x cubed on 3 minus 5x squared plus 2x plus 10, the gradient is negative 14 at 2 points. What are the values of the x coordinates at these points? So the first thing we need to do is we need to differentiate. Okay, if f of x is equal to that, then f dash of x has to equal to x squared. Sorry, yes, x squared. Minus 10x plus 2, and that's it. So the gradient is, this is the gradient function, tells us what the gradient is along any point of a curve. So we need to make that equal to negative 14. I'm going to move the negative 14 across, so we've got x squared minus 10x plus 16 is equal to 0. I'm going to factorize this. X minus 8 times x minus 2 is equal to 0. So the x values are 8 and 2. So the answer is B. Question 4. What is the domain of the function f of x is equal to root x plus 1 over root 2 minus x? Well, according to this one here, x has to be greater than or equal to 0. And according to this one here, that 2 minus x has to be greater than 0. It cannot be greater than or equal to 0, because if it was equal to 0, then we'll have 1 divided by 0, and we can't have that. We'll have an error. So that means here we've got 2 is greater than x, or x is less than 2. So if we were to combine these together, we've got x is greater than or equal to 0, but it's less than 2. So it's from 0 to 2. We use a square bracket when we include the value, and we use a curved bracket when we don't include it because it's not less than or equal to, it's just less than. So the answer here is B. Question 5. If the z-scores on an examination are normally distributed and the probability of the z-score being less than or equal to n is equal to 0.6 for some number n, what is the value of the probability from negative n to n? So because it's normally distributed, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my bell curve. Now what this is saying is that the area underneath the curve to the left of a particular z-score n is going to be 0.6. Well, we know all the way up to here is 0.5 because that's half of the area. So 0.6, let's just say is about there. Oh, sorry, capital N. So the probability over here of the area underneath the curve to the left of n is 0.6. That means that this area here has to be 0.1. Okay, 0.6 minus half, 0.1. According to the question, we want to work out the probability from negative n to n. So negative n is around here, right? Because it's exactly the same distance. So that means the probability of this also has to be 0.1. So 0.1 plus 0.1, that's 0.2. So the answer is C. Question 6. What is the change in amplitude and period when a function f of x is equal to half sine 4x is transformed into g of x is equal to sine 2x? So we can see here f of x, the amplitude is equal to half. Okay, that's our amplitude. And the period is equal to 2 pi over the coefficient of x, 4, or pi on 2. For g of x, we can see that the amplitude is equal to 1, okay? And the period is equal to 2 pi over the coefficient of x, which is pi. So from half, it becomes 1. So the amplitude is doubled. So we can get rid of A and B. And from pi on 2, it becomes pi. So the period is also doubled. So the answer is D. Question 7. Which statement is true for an ungrouped dataset with no outliers? So the largest possible range is 2, 3, 4, or 5 times the interquartile range. I think it's easiest to maybe just give some values for quartile 1 and 3. So if we have a box plot, okay, we want to know, we need quartile 1, we need quartile 3, and that way we can use it with the interquartile range to work out the max and the min. So I'm just going to give some random numbers. Let's say quartile 1 is 10. Let's say quartile 3 is 20. So that means the interquartile range is 10. I'll just write that here. Interquartile range is 10. 20 minus 10 is 10. So what would the min be? Okay, min has to be quartile 1 minus 1.5 times the interquartile range of 10. Well, quartile 1 is 10. So we got 10 minus 15, which is minus 5. So that's minus 5 here. And the max has to be quartile 3, which is 20, plus 1.5 times the interquartile range. 20 plus 15 is 35. So that's 35 here. So the largest possible range, well, the range here, according to this question, is 35 minus 5, which is 40. And that is 4 times the interquartile range of 10. So the answer has to be C. Okay, remember you have this formula on your formula sheet. For outliers, it's right here. Okay, so that helps me work out what the minimum and the maximum value is for this data set. Okay. Question 8. Which line is perpendicular to 3x plus 4y plus 7 is equal to 0? So what I would do is I would rearrange this equation so I can work out what the gradient is, and then I know what gradient I'll need for a line that's perpendicular to that. So I'm going to move my 3x and 7 across. I'm going to divide both of them by 4. So that means that the gradient of this line is -3/4. So the gradient of the normal, not the normal, the gradient of the line that's perpendicular to this, I'll just write perp for perpendicular, is the negative reciprocal. So I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to change the sign from negative to positive. So now I'm going to just check each of these. I want to see what the gradients of each of these are. So 3y is equal to negative 4x plus 7. So the gradient is just going to be negative 4 on 3. It needs to be positive. 4y is equal to 3x plus 7. So the gradient is going to be 3 over 4. That's not correct. 6y is equal to 8x minus 7. So the gradient is going to be 8 over 6, which is 4 over 3. So our answer is C. What is the derivative of 3 to the power of 4x plus 5? I will probably need to use my reference sheet for this. So we're differentiating. So I'm going to scroll down, see if I can find my derivatives. Now here we've got, I'll just rewrite the question. It was 3 to the power of 4x plus 5. So that means we have to use this a is our base to some function of x. So when we do that, we get ln of a, so ln of the base, which is 3. F dash of x, well, when we differentiate this, we get 4. So we're going to times that by 4. I'm just going to write that at the front. And then we've got a to the power of f of x, so I'm just going to write that in 3 to the power of 4x plus 5. So that means the answer here has to be A. Last question for multiple choice. What is the value of ln of 2 plus ln of 4 plus ln of 8 plus all the way up to ln of 2 to the power of 2n? So I might rewrite this as ln of 2 plus 2 ln of 2 plus 3 ln of 2 all the way to 2n lots of ln of 2. This tells me that there must be 2n terms, right? That's our first term. Our second term has a 2 in front of it. Our third term has a 3 in front of it. So our 2nth term has 2n in front of it. So there has to be 2n terms. So we are trying to work out the value of this. So it's a series because we're adding all of them. So the sum of the first 2n terms is equal to what? Well, let's have a look at our reference sheet. Let's see what we can find for this topic, series and sequences. Here it is. Now it's an AP because it has a common difference of ln of 2. So I'm going to use either this one or this one. I'm going to use the second one because I do have my first term and I do have my second term. So it's n over 2, the number of terms, over 2 times a plus l. So the number of terms over 2 times a plus l. So that's equal to n bracket, we've got, I might use square brackets here. Let's factorize out an ln of 2, 1 plus 2n. Okay, so that looks like the answer is D. Okay, that's it for the multiple choice section of the Caringbah 2020 trial.